Okay. Double checking to make sure that we are live. Waiting here. Okay, yes, we are live. All right. It just took a minute. Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Long weekend we have here. So, remember we have, oh, my thing got knocked out. Remember we have a short week next week. So the market is closed on Monday. I do want to also point out a few of the data points for next week, although the market has been shaking off data like it's not anything. But we still want to be aware of it. So, we open on Tuesday. Wednesday, we do have some Fed speeches. We have Chicago PMI, JOLTS job openings, then a few Fed speakers. Then on Wednesday, we have jobless claims and PMI, manufacturing PMI. Then on Friday, we have non-farm payrolls at 8:30. So may or may not do something, but something we want to be aware of. So we are, hey Richard, thanks for always coming and watching. We are all at the end of this month for the most part. By the time we open up, we'll have 2 days left in the month. And then we'll be starting a new month. So, time frame continuity is going to be a little off whack. And usually after a short week, it's pretty volatile. So I suggest you treat Tuesday as if it's a Monday, unless we get a good trend day. Otherwise, stay out of it. But looking at the VIX here, it's kind of still same in the same area. Last week we talked about it. It was about right here. And it did pop up for a while, but ended as a shooter on the week. So as long as this 2 up, 2 down, we could probably see some more green in the market. But that's basically how it's looking. It's just, still in this same area, even though the market has been booming. It's not really dying. We do know it does have room to go down, but it's still stuck basically in this same area. So the dollar has had a good few weeks. We were talking about how it did this double bottom here. Had a little consolidation. So you had your drop, your base, and then your rally. So now we are in this rally. You have this 3 white soldiers on the week here. But we did hit this resistance and supply zone. Actually, let me take that off, y'all, because I don't want to confuse you guys with that. So it does still have room to go. The next target's going to be 105, and then top of this broadening formation is 106.33. Otherwise, because it has this strong move, it could have an inside week and work this out before it continues up. But I did want to point out that it has broken above the 200. So remember, the last couple times it rejected hard, broke above here, and then really fell. Now we just want to see if it's going to hold above here. So we got a doji on the day, so indecision, unsure, but we did break above it and closed above it for 2 days in a row. So it's about, can it hold? Here it broke above and held for a few days before it died. So just kind of have to see what it's going to do. Looking at the NASDAQ, again, it's still booming and there's still more room to go. If you look at it on the monthly, you got these folks up here that will be really the next high target. And we hit the top of this monthly broadening formation, but now it's just pushing through and now holding above. So I left this one here just in case it rejected and came back in. But if not, then we can target the next one to the upside. So there's lots of room here for it to still go. My next target will be 15,154 on the weekly. We do have this nice hammer here. But then again, also we have had a nice rally here. So it's possible we could base again and have, an inside week, allow these EMAs to catch up a bit, and then continue to move to the upside. If you look at it on a daily, we had that corrective activity right there. This TTO took them out and then boom to the upside. Of course, y'all know that NVIDIA helped this for the most part. So We'll get to that soon, but you know, chips in AI are all the rage, kind of like energy was last year. So, and not just Nvidia, most of tech has actually been doing very well, and there's a lot of room for it to still go to the upside. We've been talking for weeks about how most things are above their 200 now, and most of the EMAs are also above them. So as long as the price is above the 200 and these EMAs, we're going to stay bullish and we're going to stay in buy the dip mode. So we will have corrective activity, but we will expect that the bulls will step in and buy that dip. So if this does correct, I expect it to come down here to this 13,825 and even maybe try to fill that gap before it continued to the upside. Otherwise, we do have a couple of gaps up here to target. So my next target would be this 14,604, 14,799 for this gap, which you'll also see on the Qs in a bit. And then that high I was telling you about, 15,154. So that's what we're looking like on the NASDAQ. It's looking really good, really green. Now the Dow has been kind of weak out of all the indices. I think that's due to McDonald's. Some of the retail have not been doing as well as tech, so that's why it's been a little weak. But at the same time, if you notice, it's still in this same area that we were talking about. So yeah, you know, it looks weak, but this 330 area, I've been giving that level as a support and a resistance for weeks. We washed below and then came back up, and if you see this big old inverted head and shoulders on the week, it's still being held up because it really basically bounced right at the bottom of that shoulder, which is this 326. So as long as it holds this 326, then that inverse head and shoulders should still be valid. There's also a larger inverse head and shoulders here. So even if it did come all the way down here to this 315, it could still continue to bounce and go up to the upside. So yeah, so 326 is going to be my first level of support. And then of course we need to break this 335 to go back into this range right here and back up to this probably about 346. So watch the top players in the Dow to see if there's going to be any reversal here. IWM, same thing. Do y'all see this? This is honestly kind of disgusting. Now, one thing about this, even though it has been stuck in this range forever, for weeks, IWM can be a good trade, a cheap trade, day trade for the range. If you really learn how to trade the range, you know, if it hits that high, you know it can't break above this 180. You short it, comes back down to the support 176. If it breaks that, it comes back down to this 172. That's what has been bouncing in between 172, 176, and 180. Once it breaks 180 though, it may actually finally move to the upside. So we're going to continue to watch it because it's done this drop and it's done this base. So it's either going to drop from here or it's going to rally back up. And you know, catching this 180 to even 186 or this 191 is a really good move for a cheap play like IWM. I mean, you can give it time and it's still cheap. It's not expensive. Otherwise, breaking that 172 and finally coming down also will be a good move. So keep your eyes on IWM. If you don't know how to trade the range, still watch it for when it breaks out of here because you don't want to miss that move. That's often what I do. I did that with Disney. We were watching it for weeks to see if it would run up. It didn't run up and it fell instead. I stopped watching it and then it fell so much that I actually missed the drop. So you want to keep watching them even though they're basing like that. All right, so the Qs look similar to NASDAQ. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back to IWM because I did want to show it on its daily to show that it still is below this 200. So, you know, just like I said, it's still in this range. But again, if it can break that 180 and finally break above this 200, which is right at that gap fill that it's just not trying to fill. If it finally fills that and goes, then, you know, we're bullish because we'll be above that 200. Give it some time to settle in and EMAs cross up and then it may have some upside. So, all right. Yes, the Qs look a lot like NASDAQ, where we've had this, we had a run, a base, run. So now we may base or we may continue because we do have gaps to the upside. We have targets that we can go and fill that will help to push the Qs to further up. And then just like the NASDAQ, again, it had this corrective activity and then it boomed thanks to NVIDIA. So it would need to break 340 for me to be bearish. And then we can possibly target that gap that it just made on the day, 333. But if anything, you see, again, once again, we're above our 200. EMAs are above. You can see the support that it has. We are still in buy the dip mode. We finally filled the gap, a couple of gaps on Microsoft. And no, we didn't fill a gap on SPY yet. We came close. But we do have this gap right here that will be my next target, this 360. We are here though, so notice that we've just taken these people out. We were talking last week about them taking these folks here out. Sorry about that noise, y'all. I may have to close this garage. They took these folks out, and then now these folks have been taken out. So we would be looking for the. I'm gonna close this garage. Hold on. Of course, it's not working. So give me a second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. There's always some type of noise going on in my house or around my house. Somebody's cutting grass, kids walking by. It's just something. So Saturdays, y'all know that's what people do. Anyway, so we've taken these folks out, looking for that gap, and then these folks here. So 371.73 would be the top of my range for there. Again, just like the NASDAQ, it broke through this broadening formation. I left it there to see if it would come back in, but then the next one we can target will be up here. Again, I'll show y'all in a bit why these can still move. Looking at SPY, it hasn't moved as much as the other tech heavy indices because of, I believe, the banks, things like that haven't been moving as much. But we did do an outside week here, and we did print a hammer. So if it can break that 421, which is really where that gap is, then it can still go. Remember, we're looking to take these folks out here. So 432 is going to be my first target there. And then we can definitely get up to this 462 if everything continues to be green and some of these things continue to move. When you look at it on the day, again, they all look similar. In fact, we didn't look at Qs on the day, did we? But look, it looks similar. It looks just like the NASDAQ. This just looks a little bit weaker, but we're still above the 200. All the EMAs are still above it. And although we've had this really choppy, nasty action, for the most part, we're still in buy the dip mode. We still have not made lower lows. We're making higher lows. Ever since this double bottom, we just kind of came right back into this area. So we made a kind of an inverted head and shoulders here, and it's sort of playing out. It's just very volatile. So, but you know, ultimately, if you play your ranges, that it's making higher lows. The really strong support right now is about the 409, 408 area. That's the area that is really stuck to and bounced from several times. If you look back, this is an area that was resistance here. It was a support here. Another support. And it's still support. So now that that's what it's done, we're just looking for it to continue going to the upside. Again, this little teeny gap at 421.25, it has not yet filled. So still looking for it to fill that gap and then come and take these folks out. Then there are really no other gaps here, I believe, to the upside. Nope. no other gaps, but you know, the gaps on some of the other stocks can help to still push this. I am not saying that SPY is going to go to all-time highs. It's just the signs are all bullish. Right here on the day, you even have this huge inverted head and shoulders. That's really supported by that 408, but even as low as 403, which is where the 200 is. It could drop all the way down there and still just continue to go up because of this huge shoulder. This is the shoulder area. This is the range. So between that 416 and that 408, stay out of it if it comes in that area. As long as it's above there and supported by there, we can continue to move to the upside. Otherwise, it would need to break that 408 and hold below there to really give us some downside. Then it needs to break that 403. So now, some of the stocks that are actually moving these and how they're looking, look at Apple. Now remember, we have been watching Apple for this outside year, which is at this 182.81. So we are still kind of grinding towards it. It's really grinding up here, supported by this EMA on the week. We're in our base period right now. You got a hammer on the week and an inside week. So if this decides to break through this 176 is going to be that strong resistance it needs to break through. If it can break through that, then 178.58, and then the outside year 182.81. If it keeps going, it can hit the top of this broadening formation 192.92 is what I have. Now remember, Apple has an event coming up in June. I believe that it has something to do with AI. Kayla would have to I'd have to look at my notes exactly on that. But just remember that they do have an event, and if it has good results, and they talk a lot about AI and things like that, since AI has been like all the rage and really help push these stocks, I really think that this could help push Apple to new heights. But do also keep in mind that these are a lot of targets it could take out on the way down. It could come from the inverted head and shoulders I'm seeing, it can come all the way down here, even to 155, and still be valid. So it could do something like that and then go. Of course, that's the end of the year. Let's try this a little bit. Let's say it went fast. June. Something like that. It may not even correct like that. It may just do something small like this, correct, and then boom. Or it could boom and then, yeah. There's many ways that this can go, but just remember it has the event in June. We will keep watching that because we know Apple moves the markets. Microsoft has just been doing well. It has not even reached this next target, which is here at this 338. If it wants to go to, well, actually about 335 to 338. And then it also broke through this broadening formation. I left it there again to see if it would come back in. But then I drew the next one. So those would be your upper targets. Otherwise, this is a really big candle. So it's possible that we may just have an inside week. Being that it's being a short week, an inside week is really possible after a big move like this, and because a lot of people will be on vacation. It's another thing I wanted to mention to you guys. We are in the start of the summer season. Do realize that a lot of people will be starting vacation. My kids are already out of school, but not everybody's kids. They will be out over the next few weeks. So volume will start decreasing. So this could be the start of the volume decrease with this week. Or not, but something we want to be prepared for. We know the stocks don't go straight up. We know that if we have a big, strong candle like that, we may get a resting period. So there's our two big, strong candles. We'll either continue this or have a resting period. But it would be a lot for this to reverse. For it to be red, it would have to break 313. It's like a lot. It would be a hard fall. So, and the bulls are not showing that they're going to short it like that. We stay vigilant though. Stay ready. Microsoft on its daily, again, way above everything. Never filled this gap. It just kind of gapped away and never looked back. It's just gone. So we now have two gaps to the upside. So if anything, I would look for it to fill this one first before we even come down here. Because if you notice this pattern since we broke above We've only washed below this 20 shortly and then kept right going. So for it to come all the way down, it would need to break all the way, all of that. And that hasn't been the pattern since March. Patterns change, but we want to keep that in mind. Do we have any gaps? There are no gaps here to the upside to target, but we do have those, just the targets at the top. So I also wanted to point out Meta. I had spoken about Meta in the Discord. Shout out to the Panther for reminding me of this. But we have been watching Meta for a while because of this huge gap over here. And it may now be the time that it's going to actually fill it. If you look at Meta on the monthly, it's been gone. It like hit this low, and for months it has been straight green. And you may think, oh, I missed out on that. Yeah, you missed out on all this, but there is still room to go. Remember, when we talk about gaps, we talk about unfilled orders. There's a lot of unfilled orders that it's now working its way through right here. So if you think about it, this resistance right here was probably the hardest resistance. It has broken through this 248, and now it's in this zone. So whether or not it'll fill it fast is, to be determined, but we do still have this entire gap to fill. And if we stay bullish, then we can expect that Meta will come up to at least fill this gap at 317.89, and then possibly take these people out here at this 330. Obviously, you would want to give that time to do, but you haven't necessarily missed it. Yeah, if you had caught it here, that would have been great, but look at what it's been doing. Again, since it broke above this 200, all the EMAs are pointing up. It's in buy the dip mode. It kind of has a consistent pattern. It dips to the 20, comes back up, dips to the 20, comes back up. Now that it's up, if you wanted to wait till it dipped back to the 20 and bought it, then you can do that. Otherwise, you can also just catch this move to the upside. And again, if Meta does move all the way to the upside, it can help push those indices up. Amazon, I wanted to point out mostly because Kiki brought this to my attention. And if you look at it, let me hide these drawings. If you look at it on the quarterly, we hit a nice low in TTO. It rhymes. Or almost even a triple bottom. I don't know if that one's lower. Nope, it's equal. But still, you can just call this double bottom basically, and it reversed. So you have a 2 down, 2 up on the quarter. It's almost to its first quarterly target, and of course I would expect some correction there, but it has room to go. I mean, the next quarterly target will be this 146.30, and if the market continues to be bullish, then that's a lot of room. So again, that will help push the indices to the upside. If Amazon continues to go, you got a nice W here. So I really think it needs to break through this 123, but if it does, then we can really see some movement. You also see you're about to get a golden cross. So it's not there yet. That's why I want to put it on your radar, because you do still have $25 move that you can catch, but see how everything else has already crossed and found that support. Amazon is about to. So y'all know Kiki is a bear. She's telling you a bullish play. This is a good start, I think, of Amazon's run to the upside. You got a couple of gaps up here to fill. So again, this would probably need time. Of course, I started out telling you guys about this on the quarter, so if I'm telling y'all that I would give it time, it's not necessarily a weekly play, but it has definitely hit a low based and now making higher lows, and it's made a couple of higher highs. Broken above the 200, EMA is about to golden cross. So Amazon's looking like a good swing. And it's really funny that people say that it's not a swinger's market because of the way it's been ranging. Yes, it is. You just have to buy time. And to honestly, my best plays this year have been on plays that I've given time. If you look at NVIDIA, Like, yeah, Nvidia bust out this week. That was like the play of the week. Lots of money was made, but if you really think about it, Nvidia has been running basically all year. So it was a good play. It was a good swing. If you bought it when it finally broke out, let's say you bought it when it broke this resistance here, and just bought time, waiting for the earnings, knowing that Nvidia is going to do good, you basically doubled your money. And all you had, you could have played out of the money and bought time. You could have bought something like July 400 call. I mean, your target, you probably would have had 346. So even if you said 346, I think it's going to go back to here. And you bought a 350 call for July. It's something that you could have done in swamp. And even if it didn't do this, catching this move on a 300 from 200 to even here, that's $100 move. Even if you're out of the money, you would have caught Nvidia's very liquid stock. So that would have been a lot of money that you could have made off of just holding. And I haven't been trading a whole lot of things because I really have been just holding. That's what I've been doing. My best, I was holding AMD for the longest since I've been telling y'all about that PMG. And that was basically my best play this year. So, looking at XLE, I am bearish on still. A lot of your favorite XLE stocks have not triggered the quarter yet or are about to, I believe. ZOM is about to do an outside quarter. But they're doing some type of action on the quarter that is bearish or on the month. And they have not completed their targets on the month. So I'm looking for them to still continue down. Again, remember, we only have a few days or like 2 days of month left once we open up on Tuesday. But they can still finish. XLE stocks mostly have some type of shooter on the week. So looking for that 2 up, 2 down reversal. You'll see that also with ZOM. This is actually beautiful because if it can break below this 105 area, which is a strong support, it's breaking the 200 on the weekly. So, and I believe Oxy is a rev strat. Yeah, Oxy is below its 200 on the week. You see how it's a resistance. If y'all can kind of see how this is the opposite of how the market's going. All of these is finding a resistance with these EMAs, and now they're crossing below the 200, which is bearish. We have a rev strat on the week, so if it breaks this 58.37, you come down to the support of this 56.26. And Oxy, it's not an actionable signal there. I think it's, yeah, so that would be the monthly support for Oxy. And then, of course, you see this on the month. Got a head and shoulders here. It's tight, but this is our head right here. And this is, we're in our shoulder area. So oil may get quite bearish. And then we know that we have gaps on the daily to target. If you look at this on the weekly, you can just see it's found its resistance. Does not look bullish at all. But yeah, we have plenty of gaps on the day to fill. Even with ZOM, all these gaps over here. Price moved super fast. So ZOM on the daily is sitting right at its 200. So like this is really a strong point. I mean, again, we washed below it a couple of times before and recovered. Now that's one thing I do want you to note is that the last time we washed below it and recovered, you see this line, this wedge I have here. You want to see if it does the same thing. If it washes below but recovers, because again, what we're going to be doing is setting higher lows either way. Otherwise, if it actually breaks below this, then we're really bearish and we can start targeting these gaps to the downside. So watch XLE for bearish. SOXL. So this was another one I was hollering about in the Discord because a couple of reasons. Just look at the range. And it's not to say that it would ever get back up to 74.15, but what if it did? What if it did? Even if it got up to this 48, that's still double where it is right now. And I'm talking long, y'all, because again, I told y'all I've been playing a lot of things with time lately. That's been my theme of the year. I'm not gonna lie, I don't do 0-day TEs no more because I get clapped every time I do it. I am a better swing trader. I like to let the move happen and play out and watch my money increase every day and move my stops up. That's what I like to do. So we're at a strong resistance here though with SOXL. But if it can get through this 23, then it's going to catch 26 easy. Of course, you want to keep an eye on NVIDIA, AMD, TSM, all of those. If they continue to move, then SOXL is going to continue to move. Remember, this is a bull semiconductor ETF, so you're looking for it to continue to the upside. So again, this 23, if it can break that, then we're looking for 26, 28, and then all the way up here to this 39.53. So again, that would be something that you would need time with. But if you look at it, how this chart, I really like the fact that we had this long downtrend. We found the bottom, and now we are starting to make higher lows on the weekly, and we've broken above this little area right here. So that's the first break above. Once we break above this 23, I think it can really, really fly. Really, really fly. So put SOXL on your watch list, especially if AI and chips are really the play of the year, like I think they will be. I think that you should continue to watch this. And then, it's such a cheap price that, when it got up here, you'd be upset. So looking at AMD, Bay. Yes, AMD is Bay. I've been studying AMD for well over a year now and playing it weekly, and I love it very much. It sometimes makes me mad when it does this little sideways things, but when it does stuff like this, it's beautiful. I remember the last time that it boomed like that for earnings, and it just kept on going. It's looking like it may actually do the same thing here. It's not giving any signs that it's slowing down. I did want to show it on the monthly. But know that we've taken out so many monthly targets. We could possibly have a correction. However, if not, we do still have more targets to the upside. 133 is one that I gave in the Discord. And then 152.78. And this thing could really go for all-time highs, 165.07. I think that most chips may try to follow NVIDIA and just go for all-time highs. They may not keep going like NVIDIA will possibly do. But there's no reason for it not to, honestly. If you think about it, it's AMD. The chips are in everything. It's had its long corrective activity, so it's due for some bull activity. But again, this is a really big move. So I really do think that we may get an inside week first before it decides what it wants to do next. Consequently, it could do like how it did this and correct down to the EMAs and then continue to move to the upside. But keep watching AMD. We do have a gap here. It could never look back for that gap, but we do have that gap. That would be my first target to the downside. But honestly, I don't necessarily know it will come all the way down there. If anything, it may come to this 8. Or, like I said, we have that sideways week because we boomed, right? So if we have the sideways week and it bases, it's just going to allow these EMAs to catch up. And then it can base and then boom from there. And you see how it broke above this wedge? If it bases, allows it to catch up, and then maybe even TTOs a little bit to hit the bottom of this wedge and boom, that could be another way that it could move. So KWEB, China, basically did that 2 up, 2 down. We still have room to the downside. Most of these Chinese stocks have triggered to the quarterly, so there's plenty of room. However, this is an area it has bounced from several times. You'll see that kind of with BABA and 80, that $80 area. So we have to just see if it continues to break to the downside. We do still have room. This can go down to 17. Even BABA has room. It has not quite triggered the quarter, but if it breaks that 80, we know that 80 is a strong level. If it does break that 80, good night. It's coming down. It may come down to this 58 again, where it's bounced from again several times. If it does get down to this 58, I would definitely buy calls here. I mean, I just can't see that BABA would continue to fall. However, I know that, China relations have been strained. But yeah, it's at these all-time lows. So watch BABA to see what it does. You see that, even though we were bullish at the beginning of the year, basically it's still in a downtrend. It basically topped out right here. And from there on the weekly, it's making lower highs. So it'll probably continue that trend until it got down here. And then either reverse, or if you see the bottom of this wedge, it can still get all the way down to $39. That'd be crazy. I would definitely buy shares if it got down that low. Not gonna lie, and ride that right on back up. So that is basically it. I don't think I had anything else. Let me go check the chat to see if you guys, this was short this week, mostly because I didn't look at everything on the monthly. Because again, we're at the end of the month, and a lot of things already hit their targets on the month. So if you have anything you want me to look at, put it in the chat. All right, so Robin said TQQQ and Square. All right, so TQQQ is going to look just like the Qs for the most part. But a little bit different. So like the way the Qs have are close to their all-time highs, TQQQ is not. But it has found what I guess we call a bottom, made some higher lows here, and it's boomed up. So we do have a lot of room here. I'm gonna look at it on the quarter. If y'all look at that, I mean, that's a serious drop. A double bottom on the quarter and a move up. That's strong to me. The 1650 was really strong. So we're looking for it to get to this 39.54 by the end of the quarter. That's the next target to the upside. And then there's plenty more room. It can get to 61.72 later on this year if everything continues to be bullish. But this is a pretty strong resistance right here. This 35. So if it can break that 35, then it can get to that 39.43, 42, 61. You see we've broken above the 200 on the weekly, finally. Again, that's the difference with these. With this one is that it hasn't held above the 200 yet, but it's starting that pattern. So since basically, so it's been supported by all the EMAs basically since January this year. Once it broke above the 200, washed below, and now it's holding above, and you have a golden cross here on the day. Now sometimes this can lag, so like you'll have this golden cross and say, okay, we're bullish, and then it dies for a little bit. But what you just need to do is wait for that correction and then continue to ride it to the upside. So you got this big, strong daily candle. Again, you may have it inside day, or it could keep going to the upside. We have these people here at that 39.43. I was telling you that it definitely wants and will probably take them out. But if it corrects, then it can correct here to this 8, just this 32, or even fill this gap at this 31, because it's still supported by the 20 and it can wash below there. And that'll give it that gap. So that's what I would do. If it came down to that, I would probably, that's where I would buy. And you also could give this time, because again, with everything being bullish, as long as it holds this trend, there's a lot of room to the upside here with TQQQs. It's still relatively cheap. I know it was even cheaper when it was down here in the 20s, but it's still cheap. I mean, compared to the all-time high at 92, again, it may not get all the way up there. But even, my first targets would be taking these folks out. And then if it wants to take these folks out, it is 63. That's almost double your money. So good one there. All right, let's look at Square. Oop, I cannot type today, y'all. I'm tabbing, I'm doing everything but what I need to do. All right, Square. Man, Square has been beat down, and we have a shooter on the week. Let me look at you on the quarter. So Square is stuck in here, which is an area it's ironed out before. So it has a really, really strong support at this 55. That's like the do or die level, though. It washed below there before, and it recovered. But if it can break this 55 and even that 51, it may come down to this 42. That's insane. Look at this on the quarter, y'all. That's so ugly. This is the shoulder. That's the head, and we're in the shoulder, which is supported by this 54. And it looks like it cannot break above 95. So, because on the quarter, this is a big old head and shoulders, this may still come down, which is insane. But yeah, we need to break that 55, 52, 42, and then it can come down as low as 33. I can see it because it's been in a downtrend for forever. Forever. It cannot break above 92, but it is supported at between 52 and 58. So that's the range, actually. And if you look at it on the month, it's had 4 red months. It's at a support, so honestly, it may turn around from here. One thing I do like, if they can find some buyers, is a possible rev strat here on the month. Because it's at support, if it can reverse and we can get a nice hammer on the month over the next couple days, then this could possibly rev strat. So then if it does, you can at least target this 83.62, which is a nice trade run. That would be a nice swing. So if this, actually, I'm gonna watch this. Putting this on the homework list. We're gonna keep watching this, y'all. Because yeah, if this can recover, that would be a nice run for next month. And you can play probably like July 16th contracts for this target, for that 83 run. And again, it's playing the range, but you know that it's hit a level of support. So if it bounces from here and gives us a sign and gives us a trigger, that could be a really dope swing. Thank you for Square, Robin. Of course, we do have this shooter also and rejection. And then if you look at it, the way it's looking on the weekly, yikes. So it would really have to reverse from here. Like this is, ooh, oh, we kind of got an inverted head and shoulders here. So even if this does 322 down, 57.58 would still keep this inverted head and shoulders valid. Otherwise, if it does break that 55, I would be bearish. It filled this gap over here though. So that's another reason why I'm saying that it could possibly reverse from here. Y'all know in the strat world, we really love reversals, especially rev strats, because they give us further targets. But yeah, it hit that gap. We based, we rallied. It's kind of a base, but it would really need to hold here. So yeah, let's watch. We're gonna continue to watch Square for a possible reversal. You can definitely play the continuation to the downside if you wanted to, but just notice the pattern. And actually, because of how it's rejected here, these EMAs are turning to the downside. This may even be a decent day trade on Monday. 322 down. This is like a 4 hour. Let's see. If you want to trade it to here, the bottom of this inverted head and shoulders. Or if it keeps going. Because this also in the 4 hour is a head. So this can really go either way. I like Square for this. Yeah, thank you. Alrighty, Richard said Snow and Tesla. Man, Snow had earnings that did this. So hold on. Let's look at Snow on the quarter. We have been kind of doing this, staying in a range. Same thing. You see, it's really been ranging. Even with that earnings, it only ran up to TTO them out and then came right back down. That was a 1, 2, 3, 4. Not quite a PMG, but it did take them all out. And again, it's been rejecting. It's been in this downtrend and rejecting these EMAs. I honestly think this may continue. It's not a actionable signal. However, this may outside month. Wait, 135. That's $15. Not quite. I think we only have 2 days left. Tuesday and Wednesday are 2 days. So with ATR, unless it like just really died, it probably won't finish the outside month. However, y'all know I say all the time, if it doesn't finish the outside month, it may finish the next month. So what you may just need to do is give it a week or two and see if it comes down to this 135, 45. But it definitely can outside month with how it's looking. You got an inside day here. So it broke above the 200 briefly, but earnings did not save it. And then it broke below everything, like everything. So, but you did have a strong move down and now you have an inside day. So you kind of just need to see what it does. Obviously now these EMAs are going to be my resistance points. So it could 212 up, 138, 158 to 160 I think would be the first hard resistance because of that 200. Because it has fallen below, you definitely can think that people will short it from there. But then it could also definitely come back up to fill this gap at 173. So that would be upside targets. And then if it can break below this 143.31, then it can go to that outside month, 135.45. So that's Snow. But, interesting enough, even though those are the targets that I've given, that's still all within here. It needs to either like break below or break above. It's just, it's still stuck in here. But that's the range of here. Tessie. So, looking at Tesla on its quarter, it's inside, but could definitely trigger to the upside. Y'all know that Elon finally said that he appointed a new CEO so that he is not as focused on Twitter anymore. So that caught investors' concerns. I believe they just did an investors conference about AI. He was talking junk about NVIDIA, saying that they won't have the market cap for as long. So, Elon always got stuff up his sleeve. So y'all want to keep this 217, 218 level in your head. Tesla had a great run on Friday, and it can possibly continue. So, but that's the important level right there for a quarter break to the upside. If it can break this 218, it probably will hit that 260 quickly. So, definitely want to watch Tesla if it breaks to the upside. We have an inverted head and shoulders here on the week. It's supported by 167-ish. And the resistance is 207. The first resistance, obviously, is this 200. It couldn't really make it there on Friday, but it got close. But it rejected at this 200, which is what it's been doing. So now it's at a critical level where it needs to basically break above that and fly, or it may die. But we also still in this range right here. So this is basically a shoulder. The shoulder on this side is not as long. We just have a longer shoulder, which I guess you could also call cup and handle. It's flagging, however you want to see it. But if you look at it like this, so if it breaks out, it's going to go, basically. But you need to see it break out above here and then hold to the upside. When you look at it on the daily, again, it's at its 200. So that's a level it just needs to break above and hold. It does not look as bullish as everything else, where they are above their 200s. All the EMAs are above. Right now, all the EMAs are below, and it's below. Price is still below the 200. So technically, it's still in short the rip mode, which is why I said that important level is at 218, which would, that's like right, where is it? Right here. So obviously, if it breaks that level, that would put us above the 200, and this would start turning to the upside, that type of thing. Right now, it's down. It's turning down. So looks like we're still in short the rip mode. You do have these fresh crosses right here. The 8 has crossed the 50 to 20, but that doesn't mean much, as this could easily just turn right back down, especially since the last few times it's hit the 200, it's rejected. So, but if it does reject, it needs to break 185. Then it can come down to this 180 and 177.79. Got to be my downside targets. Yeah. It's kind of in between these two EMAs on the weekly too. So you could also have an inside week before it decides to move up. I really think looking at these charts, we may have an inside week. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we stay, pushing, but I'm not going to be surprised if we have an inside week with it being so short and with us having such a strong move last week. Like, that was really the market bust out. You're welcome. Chandler asks for UPS. All right. So stuff that I don't normally watch, y'all, I have to start on the quarter because I have to get a general idea of what everything is looking like. So we've already done an outside quarter. I think I was looking at UPS because I believe the MACD crossed on the day, or it came up in one of my scanners. But I had taken it off my list because when it's done this outside month now, basically to me it's going to stay in this range because you've made an entirely new broadening formation. So you kind of want to wait and see what it does after this. So it's not outside month, I'm sorry, outside quarter. But with the monthly, see, it broke this strong support, but then it came right back up to it. If it breaks this 172, it can continue to the downside, then 160 is where I would look. However, this month is almost up. Look at it on the week. We got an inside week. All of our EMAs are pointing down and we're below our 200. However, we have a doji on the week. So we got this drop and now a base with a doji. So it's indecision right here. But if it wanted to correct, because we're far from our EMAs, because even though it's in a downtrend, you want it to come up to test the EMAs and reject to show that we're still in the downtrend. So if it can break this 173.16, we're looking at 176.24, and then these EMAs areas. So between, I would say, 180 and 183-ish will be my upside targets for some corrective activity, because we had this hard drop 3 straight weeks and we had a base. So now it's really 2 options from here. We're either going to drop, base, rally, or drop, base, drop. So yeah, again, that would be the upside targets if it rallied a bit to the upside. Downside targets, it needs to break this 167.50-ish area. You see it's 3 weeks now. It's kind of bounced right there. But if it does break it, then 164, and then it's bounced hard here at this 160 several times. So that's kind of where it can go. Looking at it on the daily, it was doing good. It was all a dream. And then earnings happened. And earnings sent it below the 200 and changed the entire trend. The trend was uptrending here. But since earnings, it dropped below its 200. it allowed all the EMAs to catch up, turn down, and drop below the 200. So it looks like we're still in a downtrend. It would have to clear above this 183 and hold for it to resume that uptrend. Otherwise, right now it looks like it's in a downtrend. You got to shoot on a day here. So if it can break this 171.29, it can come down to this 168. However, this right here is a chop area. So I would wait to see it make a decision out of this area. Like I said, we did the drop and now we're basing. So you want to see if it's either going to rally from here or if it's going to continue to drop. And then going back to that quarter could definitely well, no, because we still have a whole month of quarter left. Honestly, there's no actionable signal here. But something I do notice, and I don't talk about this often, Misha, I may have heard me say it before, is the H. So that's what it's looking like. Y'all can even call it a rounded reversal, whatever y'all want to call it. TTO, whatever. But basically, that's what the pattern is kind of looking like. It's going to H and come down to this support. So 160 should definitely get there. It may take some time, but it may also base here for a while. Could even do a double inside week and then move. But yeah, I like UPS. Actually, if you look at it here, since here, rallied, it dropped. It rallied, higher low, it dropped. Rallied, lower high, and dropped. Rallied, lower high, and dropped. So again, it may rally again, but it need, it would first need to break that 183 that I was telling you about, and then it would have to break 200 to stop this downtrend that it's in. So you are welcome, CMAX Energy. But that's all I have on UPS. Let me check one more time, see if anybody else has any questions, anything else y'all want me to look at, or any questions, any concepts also. If y'all have any questions about anything, I'm here. Y'all usually have me for an hour. We're at the end of that hour. But